everybody, it's Jess Alfreds, Director of Carolina Kids Co-op, and I'm here to talk to you about what it means to be legally homeschooling in the state of South Carolina. We have three basic options for legally homeschooling in our state. Option one is essentially public school at home. You are working under the authority, under the watch of your local public school, and it usually is for students who, for some reason or another, cannot physically get to school. They were public school students, and maybe they're ill, or maybe their parent is ill, or some serious thing is going on that is stopping them from being able to physically make it to school. You're doing all the same coursework, all the same testing, same responsibilities, and you're being watched over by the public school. Option two, you are under the guidance of the South Carolina Association of Independent Homeschools. And that is an association which has quite a bit of accountability. You do have to submit to standardized testing starting in the third grade. Every other year, you're required to test your kids in some basic subjects. And there's some other accountability that they require, reporting and things like that. So there's a fair amount of answering for what you're doing, how you're doing it, when you're doing it. And that is, and in return for that, there is some guidance that they'll give you. There's a lot of folks there that have been homeschooling a long time and that can give you advice. So if you're looking for something that is pretty similar to a traditional curriculum, education, private or public school, but at home, that is closer to what option two is. Option three, that's where Carolina Kids Co-op comes in, and that's the most popular method for homeschooling in South Carolina. Most homeschoolers belong to what we call an option three accountability association. There are 40 something of us in the state. We are vetted and approved by the Board of Ed, but then we are given a wide degree of autonomy. We don't have to answer to anybody for the most part in terms of what we teach, how we teach. There are a couple of requirements, and I'm going to get into them now. But I would say option three is by far the most lenient and where you will have the most independence as a homeschooling family. What you cannot do in our state, and it's bears just going over this because I know in many other states you cannot just as an independent family at home homeschool your kids without being part of any larger association. So Carolina Kids Co-op is a legal option three accountability association. We work under the loose guidance, as I said before, of the South Carolina Board of Ed. And there are a couple of things we need to require. Number one, the parent who will be in charge of the child's education must have either a high school diploma or a GED. One of the parents in the home must have this in order to be approved for option three. You will also need to keep a log of what you do every day for your schoolwork. You are required to do 180 days of schooling that are reportable and that you can log about in case you are ever audited, in case anybody ever asks for this information. And so it can be as basic as you'd like it to be or as detailed as you'd like it to be. You can literally say October 3rd, math and reading. You don't have to say how long you spend on any given subject. You don't have to give details. You certainly don't have to give curriculum information or what books you read or anything of that nature. It can be that basic. Now, you as the parent may want to have a better record than that of what your child did and when. And so you might want to say, we did these pages in this book, and however you want to do that is up to you. It can be a Word document on your computer. It can be a little notebook by the side of your bed before you go to bed each night. It can be a voice recording, whatever works for you. Chances are nobody will ever ask you for this information, but you absolutely want to have it in the rare case that you were ever audited for your homeschooling compliance. So you need that log, and there needs to be 180 logs that show you did 180 days of schooling at a minimum each year. you are required to teach a few subjects: math, reading, writing, social studies, and science for the younger kids. And then when the kids get towards junior high and high school, you have to add in literature and composition to that. Again, there's no requirement as far as how much time you have to spend on any given subject, how many days a week you have to do any given subject, or what methods you use. Just that you cover these subjects every year: math, reading, writing, social studies, science. For our older middle schoolers and high schoolers, add in literature and composition. Um, we at Carolina Kids Co-op require 2 progress reports. Some accountability associations do things differently. Some require more, some require less. We like to have these 2 progress reports in our files because this is what is required by the state if we were ever audited for our homeschool compliance. So once in January and once at the end of the school year in June, I will remind you or ask you to please send me a progress report for your child. That can be like an old school report card, A, B's, and C's, if that's what works for you, or satisfactory or not satisfactory, whatever you choose to use. It could also just be a paragraph. My child has made these gains this semester or this year. My child has struggled in these ways. I always encourage families, don't just think in terms of math and social studies and science. Talk about what's happened in your life, what's important, what your child learned to swim this semester, your child learned to knit this semester. I think that's all really important, and it's great to have a record of all that type of stuff. That is really it as far as what is required of you. It's pretty lenient. I just encourage you, don't get so relaxed that you forget to keep that log or that you forget to put in those progress reports. It's really, really important that you just have that somewhere in case you ever need it. One more thing I forgot I wanted to mention to you. The state also asks that you keep a couple of samples from each year of the things that your child did in the required subjects. So maybe they did a project for social studies or science that year, and you can save the project or take a picture of the project and save that. Math worksheets, that's an easy thing to save. A book report, there, that's your reading and writing requirement covered right there. Just something to stick in a file, and again, just have it in case anybody ever comes looking for it. So it is pretty easy to homeschool here in South Carolina. Of course, if you have any questions about accountability, about compliance, I'm always happy to help you. And like I said, we are an Option 3 legal association. You do not have to attend our co-ops to be a member of our legal Option 3 association, and vice versa. You don't have to be a member of our association to be in our co-op. So we try to make it as flexible for you as we can. And that's your little info about Option 3, South Carolina and Carolina Kids Co-op. Thank you so much. See y'all soon.